You take that combat principle of carry what you need, think about it, don't carry too much, and you apply that to the business world. Hey, if you don't need to bring that extra person on board and you can get away with a contractor for a little while and you can pay somebody some overtime, do that.
I've got those extra hand grenades. I've got the extra smoke grenades. I've got I've got flashbang grenades. I've got 4 or 5 extra magazines in addition to like the 7 magazines. Each of these are 30-round magazines we carry.
You must have had 100 pounds. At least 100 pounds.
Crazy amount of. And then of course I'm carrying my 40 mic, right? So I've got 40 millimeter grenades as well. And I was typically, I'm loading that out. So I've got a bandolier of 12 of those things. I think I had 6 more on me in a pouch on my waist. So literally, I'm rolling in like John J. Rambo style. So you gotta carry that water in. We carry these 1.5 liter bottles that they had. And I think I had probably 10 or 12 of those bottles too. So I'm like, I don't want to run out of water, so I gotta be much more. That I even thought I needed. So ridiculous amount of weight that I'm carrying. And as soon as I'm putting this thing on, I'm like, man, I'm carrying. I can't wait to drink this water. I can't wait to try to shoot some of these rounds. Get rid of some of this weight because I realize like it's crazy. It's a crazy amount. And of course you're like, you don't want to run out of ammo, but you also. You can't, if you can't move, then it becomes even more dangerous.
What's that do to your leadership capability when you're tired?
Here I am supposed to be in charge of this thing. So I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of my guys. We got a squad of 8 of our guys, 8 SEALs and a dozen Iraqi soldiers. And I'm supposed to be in charge. I'm supposed to be thinking about the bigger picture and be able to detach and all the things that we talk about, sitting back and thinking about, what's going on, a half mile up the road and making, radio calls back to the Tactical Operations Center and talking to you and telling you where we are and what's going on. And I can't, I'm focused at this point on putting one foot in front of the other. Just head down, one foot in front of the other and just try to keep up, and here I am, the guy just having a hard time keeping up. And it was humbling experience for me. Here I am, a SEAL, a team guy, thinking I'm in shape, and and I'm in an area where I'm not acclimatized to this kind of brutal heat. Even at nighttime, it's 95 degrees outside, and there's no wind, and you think, oh, it's a dry heat in the desert. No, the rivers, it was a real rude awakening for me. Just being humbled by that experience to come back and think, I'm carrying way too much stuff. I can't, it's sure I don't want to run out of ammo, but how much more dangerous is it for me to be carrying so much stuff that I can't even keep up on a patrol? I can't move fast when I need to, and if bad guys start shooting at us, I can't get my guys off the street, or I can't run across the street or run up the stairs, and so I recognize right away, like I got to pare this down, and I got to carry just the essential stuff, and maybe a couple of contingency plans. Like maybe I got 1 extra grenade in my backpack, and maybe I don't even need that. What do I really absolutely need? Don't want to run out of water out there, so maybe I got 1 extra bottle. Don't need 4. With me, and that enabled me to recognize that I've got to carry only the essential stuff because you can absolutely get overwhelmed.
And what's interesting? I'm sitting over here because obviously we're in a consulting business, but. Same thing that we'll see with businesses when they want to do the same thing. They want to build their infrastructure so much that they can handle any scenario that's going to happen. So they're going to hire 3 more people in case of this, and they'll hire 6 more people for that, and they'll hire 4 more people for that contingency. Right? It's like you saying, well, I might run out of magazines, so I'm going to put 5 more in my backpack, and I might throw these 4 grenades, so I need 3 more. And next thing you know, these companies, they're so overburdened with overhead and with cost structure that the same thing happens. What happens? They lose their ability to maneuver. And so it's the same thing. You take that combat principle of carry what you need, think about it, and don't carry too much, and you apply that to the business world. Hey, if you don't need to bring that extra person on board, and you can get away with a contractor for a little while, and you can pay somebody some overtime, do that until you have to make that decision, and you'll know. So
that's something you actually taught me in Ramadi. You had been in Baghdad and had those the experiences of these capture kill raids, and it always seemed like we're going in this house. We don't know what's in that house. We believe a bad guy to be there, and maybe he has some people. So I'm going to put 25 assaulters in that house. And, I'm going to put as many people as I can. And then you're like, hey, Leif, I don't think you need that many people. And initially I was like, that's crazy. Why would I not want to take them all? And then you recognize, like, 25 people in the house, there's a lot more mayhem. There's a lot more chaos. There's people bumping into each other. And you're like, yeah, maybe 14 guys is all I need, for this particular target.
And guess what else? When you're on this target, where's the biggest threat? The biggest threat actually oftentimes isn't in the building you're taking down, because you're doing that aggressively. You have a good force. The harder threat to cut, where the threat is. The building is, 480 square feet or 1,400 square feet. You know how big that building. It's a finite area. Whereas when you're in the street, 360 degrees, that threat's there. So where do you actually need people to cover a threat that you don't know and don't understand? You need them in the streets. That's where you need them, and that's where we always went heavy on the streets. And the assault team is a smaller package, and plus, it's very easy and very controlled to be able to say, Jocko, I need 4 more guys in here. Boom, you got them.
Super easy.
Doing the opposite, hey, send 4 guys out in the street. We don't know where, but send guys out. It's much more hard. It's much harder to do that because it's a much less controlled situation out in the streets.
And I think for leaders, that planning piece, right, to think about, where is that contingency? What are the likely contingencies that may happen? Keep that essential personnel, essential resources, and focus. You can't plan for every contingency, and if you do, you're going to overwhelm your team, and it's gonna cause more problems trying to solve every contingency than it would otherwise.
Yeah.
That was the rude awakening for me. And the other piece of that was physical training. Here I was thinking I'm in shape. I'm a team guy. We train hard. We push the envelope. And yet I am not in good enough shape to be able to perform at the level I need to in this kind of heat, in this kind of environment. And after that, you would see, it was a lesson not just me learn, but I saw so many
Everybody.
of us. At TU Bruiser, if you showed up at like noon at the heat of the day, you'd see guys out doing tire flips, doing sprints, running, working out to get acclimatized, to be ready for those worst case scenarios. And we recognized that we thought we were good, and we had to step it up to an even.
I actually
even
took one of those workouts, and I would do it at Victory MMA training fighters. But the workout was a dummy carry, because we had a big old heavy bag, so it was a dummy carry it down and back. Sprint as hard as you can, then grab the tire. It was a tire pull down and back, and then a sprint down and back. And what that was simulating was like, okay, you might have to pick up a guy and carry him down or carry him somewhere. Then you also might have to grab a guy and drag him, and then you might just have to sprint. But we do that, like you said, we do that stuff at high noon because like you said, everyone wanted to be acclimated for the worst case scenario.
Yeah, we were half mile off the river, so it's humid along the river. So it was horrible, and I was realizing like this. I got my ass kicked. I mean, it was, by the time we got back from that, I knew I was going into a heavy like heat exhaust. Like I was hitting the heat exhaustion point where it was like, this is rough. This is rough.
And
stuff.
that's the thing that's scary about heat exhaustion scenarios is it's like a cliff you're walking off of, and when you're getting close to the cliff, and when you go off of it, it's not like you say, okay, let me get a sip of water. No, you're in big trouble. You got guys carrying you now because if you get heat stroke or heat exhaustion, it's a bad situation.
And it doesn't matter how tough you are, you're not going to be able to power through that, right? Physically, and so that's what that's a nightmare scenario for me. That here I am, the leader, and yet if I can't keep up, if someone has to carry me, right? That was just going to be a horrific disaster.